What's up, everyone? Brian here from Ride Your Money Wave podcast, where we talk about becoming wealthy through three things: personal finance, entrepreneurship, and overall life and career success. Today is a very exciting day for me because I'm finally stepping in front of the camera and broadening the community and the audience of that podcast to you, the YouTube listeners and YouTube viewers. And so why are we doing this? Because we want to attract a larger audience, a younger demographic, and to teach you all about how to become financially stable and financially wealthy. A little bit about me. I teach high school economics. I have a photography business that specializes in weddings and proposals, and I have 2 rental properties as well that I manage. So I've developed over the years multiple streams of income, both passive and active, and that has allowed me to really jumpstart a life of financial stability and financial abundance. And I am really doing this because it has led to so many blessings in my life and the lives of the people that I care about. And I want to just simply share those lessons with you. This is the stuff that I teach in my classroom as well. And what's interesting is that years later, I'll get emails from my former students asking me about Roth IRAs and 401ks and index funds and stuff like that. And so just as much as I'm doing it for them, I'm also doing it for you, the viewer, as well. One of my greatest, things about teaching is the fact that I get to help people. So long story short, I hope that this information helps you as well. Now, if you're tuning in because you want to get rich quick, or you want a tour of, my crib, my house, or, you think I'm going to be showing you some fancy cars in my garage, that is not the case at all. Okay, so you found the wrong channel. Hate to break it to you, but it was nice meeting you. Instead, if you're here to learn how to have a better relationship with money and how to become wealthy over the long haul, and by long haul, we're talking probably at least 10 years, then that is the right channel for you. So first things first, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so that you will always be up to date when we release these videos. So let's talk about really the foundation of wealth, and that is I have 5 rules of money that I have compiled over the years that have served me very well. Let's grab a pen and let's dive in. So here we go. Rule number 1 of money: no one cares about your money as much as you do. This is the baseline. This is the foundation of money. If you don't care about your money, no one else is going to. Your money affects you first and foremost. It really doesn't affect me. So if you're broke and you don't know how to manage your money, that you bear the weight of that burden. So no one is going to come and save you from your financial troubles. You need to save yourself. No one cares about your money as much as you do. And there are times in life when you need to stand up and care for that money. For example, when I first started teaching, some paperwork that I submitted got screwed up, and it was going to hurt my retirement accounts. I was trying to save $10,000 in a matter of 4 months when the school year started from September to December in my 403B. And some paperwork got screwed up, and it was going to reduce my contributions and really affect the final number in my retirement account. And so I had to go to HR, and then I had to go to the director of HR, and I had to make my argument. And it took me, a solid 2 hours of talking to people and uncomfortable phone calls. But at the end of the day, they did what was right because I was not willing to back down behind making the change so that I could protect my money and my retirement. There are times when you have to care about your money. I mean, really, you should care about it all the time. But there are times when you really have to take that uncomfortable stance, draw a line in the sand, and just say, hey, listen, it's my money, it's my livelihood, it's my financial stability, my financial future, and I am not backing down, and we need to make this right. So lesson number one is that no one cares about your money as much as you do. You need to become your own financial advisor. You need to become financially literate. You need to understand the way stocks work, bonds work, index funds, mutual funds, 401ks, Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, the tax code and how it changes every year. You need to develop information and strategies on how to play the game of money. Because the game is everyone's trying to take it from you and you're trying to grow it. You're trying to keep it and grow it. So there's a whole lot really that can be said about rule number one, but it really is based in this idea that you need to develop a healthy, respectful relationship with money, where you respect money and what it can do for you. And when you give it time, when you do your research, when you're constantly reading, and you're spending time with your accounts and showing it the respect that it deserves, it turns around and it respects you. Rule number two of money is only you can say no to yourself. Think about it. When you go shopping, they always ask you, did you find everything okay? Would you like to sign up for our newsletter, receive 10% off? Would you like to open up a credit card and receive 20% off your purchase today? The whole industry, marketing, advertising, multi-billion-dollar industries are there to get you to say yes. And so who is going to be that little voice standing on your shoulder whispering the word no? That would be you. Only you can say no to yourself. Imagine a world where we didn't have credit cards, right? You'd be hearing the word no a lot more often. And so you need to really have that self-discipline to say no to yourself, because you know that Visa and MasterCard will always say yes to you. Rule number three is don't let your ego get in the way. This one is very difficult for people because you first need to admit that you have an ego, and then you need to let that ego go. Really, you need to kind of kill that ego. And this lesson was taught to me actually from my cousin. I used to drive a F-150. I used to drive trucks my entire life, and I still have one today, but there was a period of time when I didn't have one, and it was when I was broke. Gas was over $4 a gallon, and I was driving 105 miles round trip to work every day. And I could barely afford the truck. It was costing me almost 50% of my take-home pay. And it was a lease car, and it was coming up for lease. And I was trying to decide, do I want to get another one? And my cousin recently just got a truck as well. And he asked me the question, what do you need it for? And so I started to explain all the reasons why I needed it. And he called me out and he said, listen, you're so full of crap. Although he didn't say that, but he said, you're so full of crap. And he said, listen, all the reasons that you gave me, it's BS. And instead, he said, don't let your ego get in the way. And as soon as he said that, I was realizing, wow, I'm willing to spend 50% of my take-home pay in order to promote my own self-image, in order to support my own ego. And I started to view all the purchases that I was making over the next, honestly, like 6 years through that lens of determining whether or not it was my ego that wanted that purchase, that purchase was supporting a self-image that I had, or whether I actually needed that. And what happened very quickly was that all the premium that I was willing to pay for different logos completely went out the window. And I became a much more minimalist in the things that I needed. So I went from driving an F-150 down to a Ford Fusion that I had for like 8 or 9 years and drove it into the ground. And that was a great lesson that I had. And now even today, I try to not let my ego get in the way. So press pause here and look at these 3 rules of money. All of them deal with psychology. All of them deal with habit. All of them deal with you beginning to control yourself. It's actually very easy to become wealthy. I think wealth is accessible to everyone. There's a whole system of wealth that already exists. You can, from your phone, from the comfort of your house and being on your phone, you can invest in the stock market. You can buy Apple, you can buy Google, you can buy Facebook, you can buy all kinds of different stocks and bonds. You can even invest in real estate from your phone. And so there's this whole system that's out there that is very accessible for you to participate in order to grow your money. But the ticket, the cost of entry to that system is oftentimes far too high for most people. And it's not an actual monetary cost. The cost is you have to change yourself. You have to change your beliefs. You have to change your habits. You have to change your thoughts. You have to change what you're reading. You have to change a lot about what is comfortable for you. And in doing so, most people, that ticket is far too expensive and they aren't willing to change, and therefore they aren't going to become wealthy. And so notice that the first 3 rules of money deal with psychology. It deals with habit. And that's the hardest hurdle for most people to get over. Once you get over those 3 rules, now you're ready to start making some money. And so rule number 4 of money is make great big decisions. And we're summarizing that. Make great big decisions, because the full rule is really that it's far better to make one big great decision than 1,000 good small decisions. Let me give you an example. So last year, I paid myself a salary from my photography business. And the salary was $50,000, which turned out to be about $36,000 after taxes. So I got to write myself a check from my business for 36 grand. And here I had 36 grand that I could do anything I wanted with. All my bills were paid. All of my retirement accounts were maximized. And I just had this money where I said, okay, what can I do? And so I made really 2 big, great decisions. And the first was I took $12,000 and contributed it to my brokerage account. So I was all set for the year there. The brokerage account is set up. It's like a bucket of money that if I want to buy another rental property, I can use that money. If I want to retire early, I can use that money. If the car goes and I want to buy a new car, one swipe, I can do it from that. So I spent 12 grand and invested that money in the brokerage account. And then I took $20,000 and put that towards paying off my house. And the remaining $4,000 went into a bank account and is going to be used to replace a furnace at one of my rental properties. So let's focus on that 20 grand for a second. I made one big, great decision. Now, think about how easy that is to just write a check, 20 grand, boom, put it towards paying down your mortgage. As opposed to, say, with going coffee in the morning from my favorite Tim Hortons, okay? I get a large Tim Hortons coffee and it costs right around $2. I would have to say no to myself 10,000 times in order to save $20,000. 10,000 times. Do you know how difficult that is to say no to yourself 10,000 times? To say no to yourself, to have that discipline and that willpower. You literally at some point become fatigued. Your willpower becomes fatigued from constantly saying no. And so a lot of other, financial experts, we'll call them, talk about, making your coffee at home and skipping your coffee. And that's great. It saves money. And I make my coffee at home too. But I would much rather focus on making big, great decisions that are going to create huge amounts of money in the future than focusing on these tiny little decisions that are only going to get me incrementally ahead. So rule number 4 is make big, great decisions. And if you do that, you really don't have to worry about the small stuff. All right, Last but not least, rule number 5. If you can get through all 4 of these rules, then you are ready for rule number 5. And rule number 5 is where you're going to start making real money. Rule number 5 is this. You want your money to work for you, not you for your money. And this is the main difference between rich and poor people. Rich people, they trade money for time. And poor people trade time for money. So when I go and I teach high school, I'm acting like a poor man's mentality. I'm trading my time for money. But as soon as I leave there, I'm putting that money to work for me. And I'm trading that money for time. I'm taking that money and I'm buying assets. I'm buying rental properties. I'm buying stocks. I'm buying bonds. I'm investing in the stock market. And so I'm buying assets, not liabilities, but I'm buying assets that are going to grow and make even more money. Guys, an average millionaire has 7 sources of income. 7. If I were to just be a teacher, I would have 1 source of income, my 9 to 5. How can I become wealthy or financially independent when I have just 1 source of income? It's going to take a lot longer. So instead of focusing on saving on the bottom end, I'm going to focus on growing my top end and making more money. And once I do, I make that money work for me. Here's a little bonus rule that we're coming up with on the fly. But one of the things that you want to do that kind of tie into this rule number 5 of you want your money to work for you is that you want to avoid lifestyle creep. So, as I mentioned earlier, I started off making $29,000 as a private school teacher. And what I did was as I started to make more money, for years, I tried living on that same $900 paycheck that I got my very first year of teaching. And so as my income went up, my standard of living stayed the same. And what would happen is I would invest that gap. So what would happen is as my income would increase, I would keep my standard of living the same and I would invest the difference. I would make that money go and work for me. And always paying myself first has led to having a surplus of money ever since day 1 of working. So guys, there you have it. Those are my 5 rules of money. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share this with your friends because we want to create an online community of people who are looking to become financially stable, financially wealthy, and to support each other in doing so. I know that it's worked for me. I'm watching it work for my students, and I want to share that financial success with you as well. So as we always say on the podcast, money is not about the attaining of things. Instead, money is a tool so that we can use it to go live our best life. And so we sign off always saying, now go out there and go live your best life. Till next time, guys.